What should you look for when reviewing your homeowner's insurance policy, and why are you getting insured for more than you're paying for the home? Tune in to Tom's Take right now. Welcome back to the show. We've got Kevin Hamill here from Alliances Insurance, the best insurance person I've ever run into. And I mean that in all seriousness, because we deal with a lot of people that don't know what they're doing. They're with big box companies and they don't really work for the consumer. So Kevin's here because I get a lot of questions about insurance, because when people buy real estate, they have to get a homeowner's policy. That's typically a requirement to get the loan funded. And most of the stuff we're doing has mortgages. So, Kevin, I'm just going to rapid fire these two questions at you, and you can answer them, and then we'll get some people some great information here.
All right.
So, the biggest one, and probably the more confusing one, is why do you get insured for more than you're paying for the home?
Yes, Tom, that is one of the biggest questions that I do get from people looking for homeowners insurance. I've only paid $250,000 for the house, but it's insured for $350,000. Market value has nothing to do with replacement costs. Basically, we just take all of the information, the details of your home, and plug it into a third-party software offered by Marshall and Swift, and they factor in things to rebuild the house to the way that it is. So that means cleaning up the debris. It also includes pulling all the permits, following all the ordinance, and then it also comes into factor with the availability of the materials and the availability of the workers. So that could also have a significant increase on the rebuilding of your home. I actually saw a stat nationwide: 2/3 of all Americans are actually underinsured by 18%. So if your house is, say, $200,000, that means that you have a shortfall of $36,000 to rebuild your house.
18%. So that's pretty crazy. And when you think about it, yeah, they're not factoring in demo. I mean, that's an additional cost. That's not even to build the home. So that right away would make a lot of sense. And a lot of people, I find, when they get these policies, they don't know what the hell they're looking at in the first place.
Right.
And as a result, they get really confused about what's going on. So great answer there. So the second question we get is, what do you need to be looking for in the homeowner's insurance policy? Because a lot of people, they'll call a big box company, they'll call whoever they have their car insurance with, if they're a first-time buyer, and they just get sometimes the minimum coverage and don't really know what they're getting involved with. So what are some key things you need to be looking for and making sure you're covered, so if something like this happens, you're not left with an 18% shortfall?
Right, that's a great question, Sam. You do have to make sure that you ask them for the reconstruction estimate to make sure that they have all the details. It does take me a little bit more time than others because I focus on making sure that my prospect and my clients have the correct coverage, the correct amount. One coverage that I often see that is not on policies that really should be on every single policy is water backup and sewer coverage. Basically, if let's say your sink overflows, one of your kids wakes up, goes to the bathroom, washes his hands, leaves the sink on, now water is overflowing, it's getting down into the drywall, the floor of your bathroom, all the way down. If you do not have water backup and sewer coverage on that policy, there is no coverage for that damage, which is very scary, and a lot of homeowners are unaware of it, or they don't want to spend the extra $60 to $120 a year that it costs to have this coverage.
Well, and one of the things that I know from working with you is you actually take the time to look at the coverage and give people advice versus they plug something into a computer and they get a policy spit out and they said, hey, great, here's my insurance policy.
Right.
So water backup coverage, I mean, the city of Philadelphia, they have sewer lines go all the time. That's
Right.
a big problem. We've had stucco issues and this sort of, there's a lot of things that come into play here. So on top of what to look for, what are some other things they want to be asking anyone they're talking to about getting coverage for their home? Is there like one or two questions you want to be talking to that company or that person about so they can make sure they're getting the right coverage? Because this is most people's biggest investment they make.
Well, one of the things is, do you have a finished basement, or do you plan on finishing the basement? Because again, with the backup water and sewer, water typically will overflow in the pipes, and the pipes run through the top of the basement. Now that comes through your drywall, your drop ceiling, whatever you may have, and ruins everything that you have in the finished basement. And again, if you do not have the water backup and sewer coverage, there is no coverage. One of the things I do want to bring up, Tom, is there's a new coverage that has just come into the industry called service lines. this coverage is provided by Aqua, Philadelphia Gas Works, and other utility companies. But if you get it through your insurance carrier, not only is it less expensive, but we'll also cover the contents that got damaged, and we'll cover all of the lines. So that's the sewer line, the cable line, the electricity, the telephone line. So if anything happens to any of those lines that are buried under the ground, you will have insurance coverage. And it has been coming up more and more lately. I can tell you stories.
These stories are nightmares. We're not going to go into them. I've heard them off air here. So what we're going to do, we're going to put Kevin's information up here. And you know, certainly if you want to talk to him directly about any of this stuff, you got any questions,
Yeah.
Obviously he's someone that is a great resource. You don't have to commit to anything by
Not at all.
talking to him.
Yep.
So great questions here. I think this is going to clear up a lot of things for a lot of people that are thinking about buying a home or they've already bought one and didn't really understand everything.
Right.
So thanks for coming on, man.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it.